The town of Red Hollow had seen droughts, dust storms, and the slow death of hope, but it had never seen a man like this. Just after dawn, when the saloon doors were still quiet and the general store smelled of fresh bread, an Apache man walked into the street and dropped to his knees. His clothes were torn and thin, his boots cracked, his face hollowed by hunger and pride broken by desperation. He held no weapon. No anger. Only a shaking voice that carried across the wooden porches and startled the townsfolk into silence. "A loaf of bread," he said, barely louder than the wind. "For my children." The words felt heavier than any gunshot. Mothers froze mid-step. Men tightened their jaws. Some looked away, ashamed. Others scoffed. Red Hollow was not kind to outsiders, especially not to Apache families pushed to the edge of survival after their land had been taken, their hunting routes fenced off, and their dignity stripped one law at a time. The shopkeeper hesitated behind the counter, fingers gripping the bread knife. Charity had rules in Red Hollow, and mercy was often priced higher than gold. Someone laughed. Someone muttered a slur. The Apache man bowed his head, pressing his forehead to the dirt as if begging the earth itself for forgiveness. His knees bled through the dust. He did not ask again. That was when the cowboy appeared. He leaned against the post outside the saloon, hat low, spurs quiet, eyes sharp. Folks knew him as Cole Maddox, a man who spoke little, rode hard, and kept his past locked behind weathered silence. He had money, land, and respect, but none of it came easy. Cole watched the scene unfold without moving, without judging, just observing the way hunger humbles even the strongest men. The Apache man's shoulders shook, not from fear, but from the shame of a father who had failed to feed his children. That was when a child's cry echoed faintly from the edge of town, a sound so thin it could cut the heart in two. Cole's jaw tightened. Memories stirred, of his own childhood, of nights when his mother split one biscuit into 4 pieces and pretended she wasn't hungry. The crowd waited for the inevitable cruelty or dismissal. Instead, Cole stepped forward, boots crunching in the dirt. He approached the kneeling man and stopped directly in front of him. The town held its breath. The Apache man did not look up. He expected mockery. He expected a kick. He expected nothing at all. But what he heard instead was silence, long, heavy, respectful silence. Cole slowly removed his hat and placed it over the man's bowed head, shielding him from the sun and from the eyes of those who judged. Then, without a word, Cole turned toward the general store and walked inside. The door creaked shut behind him. Whispers erupted. Some laughed nervously. Some cursed. Others felt something uncomfortable rising in their chests, something like guilt. Moments later, Cole emerged carrying not one loaf of bread, but an armful: bread, dried meat, beans, flour, and a sack of apples. He walked back, knelt down in the dirt, and placed the food gently in front of the Apache man as if laying offerings at an altar. The cowboy's voice was calm but carried across the street. "No man should kneel for feeding his children," he said. "And no town worth standing in lets it happen." Gasps followed. The Apache man slowly lifted his head, eyes wet, disbelief etched into every line of his face. He tried to speak but couldn't. Cole stood, pulled out a silver coin, and pressed it into the man's palm. "There's more where this came from," he added. "But first, stand up." With trembling legs, the Apache man rose. For the first time that morning, he was not smaller than anyone else. He was a father again. And Red Hollow, whether it liked it or not, had just been changed forever. If this story is touching your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because stories like these deserve to be remembered. The shock didn't end when the Apache man stood. It rippled outward, shaking the foundations of Red Hollow. Cole Maddox wasn't finished. He turned to the gathered townsfolk, eyes steady, voice firm. "This man's children are hungry today," he said. "But tomorrow, it'll be someone else. Hunger don't care about color, tribe, or name." The sheriff shifted uneasily. The shopkeeper swallowed hard. One by one, people who had turned away moments earlier now faced the truth standing in the dirt before them. Cole walked beside the Apache man toward the edge of town, where a cluster of ragged tents hid families forgotten by law and comfort. Children peeked out, eyes too old for their young faces. Cole stopped, knelt again, this time in front of them, and handed out food with his own hands. No speeches. No pride. Just action. The crowd followed at a distance, unsure whether they were witnessing madness or courage. Then something unexpected happened. A woman stepped forward with a basket. Then a farmer with a sack of potatoes. Then a boy with 2 coins clutched tight in his fist. The wall cracked. Mercy spilled through. By sunset, Red Hollow had done the unthinkable. The saloon stayed closed. The store gave credit. The sheriff promised protection. Cole worked through the night, arranging work, shelter, and fair wages. He hired Apache men to rebuild fences, repair barns, and guard cattle, not as charity, but as equals. The kneeling man, whose name was Nantan, stood beside Cole, shoulders straight, dignity restored. "You didn't just give me bread," Nantan said quietly. "You gave my children a future." Cole only nodded. "Pass it on," he replied. News traveled fast. By morning, neighboring towns whispered about the cowboy who knelt with a broken man instead of standing over him. Some mocked him. Others admired him. But none could ignore him. Red Hollow was no longer just a town, it was a lesson. A reminder that real strength shows itself not with fists or flags, but with compassion when it costs something. Years later, folks would tell the story differently. Some said the Apache man begged. Some said the cowboy threatened the town. But the truth was simpler and stronger. One man chose humanity over hatred, and a town followed. Children who once cried from hunger grew up knowing dignity. And whenever someone asked Cole Maddox why he did it, he'd answer the same way every time, because no father should beg on his knees for bread. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you believe in humanity again, subscribe to the channel and join us for more powerful stories that remind us who we are.